in any presentation, if it's too polished, you take some element of humanity out of it. And I wonder how many people are teaching their first courses who may not know why it's not quite connecting, and it's because they're married to the idea of perfection.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that in some MOOCs too. I mean, it's a really careful line to walk. I mean, and it kind of raises this issue with MOOCs in general, which is they feel like, I think as a student, I've taken many myself, you kind of log in and it feels like it's all there and it's maybe not that big of a deal. Having worked on the back end of one, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And that kind of raises this really interesting, I think, the question moving forward with MOOCs, which is how are they going to continue to be sustainable? Because, I mean, one of the promises of MOOCs that people talk about is the possibility of iteration. I mean, we're finding that iteration is effort, right? I mean, you can't just run the MOOC and then get data and say, oh, well, now it's easy, we can make it better. It's, oh, well, now we have to make it better, which is going to be, hours and hours of work. It's going to be a lot of time. It's going to be a lot of effort. It's going to be re-rendering videos. It's going to be remaking quizzes. And all of that takes time and effort, takes manpower. And there's kind of this question, so there's the potential to make MOOCs really great over time. But who's going to do it, and who's going to pay for it, and who's going to support that process?
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about how much work you put into just sitting there recording while the planes are going over, and I think about someone who already has a classroom load, who already has people that they're mentoring or counseling, and it would just be difficult to add this to the schedule of a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
Overworked and underpaid, and here's something else to do.
But yeah, if you're not prepared to be overworked and underpaid, you do not go into the university life.
And not all of the information online is going to date. You can always make your information better, but presumably we're going to reach a point with MOOCs where there is a vast library of already established classes. You're not taking them in real time, but the information is available, the tests are available, whatever.
Yeah, and I think some of the potential promise, and people have raised a lot of issues that I certainly don't have answers to around what this means for the structure of the academy and what it means for middle-tier institutions, what people call middle-tier institutions, state schools. There is this potential for MOOCs if they are really well constructed and if they provide material that has to be taught across the country at community colleges and remedial classes, whatever. I mean, even a class like this one, the Introduction to Mathematical Thinking course, is a course that's essentially taught in hundreds, if not thousands, of different places. And is it really necessary? I mean, even though it might be a lot of work for Keith to produce, and it might be a lot of money for Stanford to be able to support, the potential is to actually free up professors and faculty at other institutions to be able to do more things because they don't have to worry about delivering those 10 lectures. They can just use Keith's lectures, or they could use another MOOC that's providing their content, and then they have more time to work with their students.
Yeah, and in that respect, it's like writing a book. And I've written many books, I've written 30-something books, but among those books is some textbooks. And it's the same with that. You write a textbook, and it gets used all around the world, year after year after year. And a MOOC, once we've stabilised the MOOC in a sense, we've got it, and we think this is okay, then it can just live on like a textbook. And in fact, in mathematics, there actually is an advantage for sort of putting it on video, because mathematics is something that you do. It's an action. I mean, look at Euclid's element. You read something like Euclid, and what do you see? Drop a perpendicular. That's an action. It should be done. If you're actually doing it, what Euclid should have been done, and he couldn't because he didn't have MOOCs available, he didn't have YouTube, what Euclid should have done, instead of writing the words drop a perpendicular, he should have drawn this diagram, and as he says drop a perpendicular, he does that. Mathematics really makes a difference when you bring it alive, because you read mathematics, it's do this, choose that, make a difference. It's all about doing things to these abstractions. So putting it on video is actually a more natural way of presenting it than putting it in a book.